We've all seen this before. Uncle Sam wants you, but maybe the message should be different today. Maybe Uncle Sam wants you to be in debt. Maybe he wants you dependent on the US dollar, living paycheck to paycheck while your money loses value every year. But this round right here, it's not just silver. It's a reminder that you don't have to play that game. You can opt out. And right now, with silver creeping back to 38, we need to talk about what's coming next. And I want to talk about what might actually happen with premiums if they return, and they could return in a big way. So let's start by taking a look at what I mean here. So this is what silver looked like July 22nd. So late July, we were at 39.30, and by the end of that week, we had a pretty large dip. Here we are, 39.05 on Thursday, and then 38.17 on Friday. Then the next week, we dipped all the way down into the high 36s, so 36.71. You can see right now we're sitting at 38.61. We are definitely rebounding, and I have no idea. I don't predict spot price, but I mean, we could easily see it go well over the 39.30 that we hit just a couple of weeks ago. But even though spot price is up, and to be honest with you, it may actually be because spot price is up, we are actually seeing a lower demand on physical silver. And that's not just me saying that because that's what I think. I've talked to dealers all over the country. I've had dealers on this channel. I've talked to dealers at coin shows. And even the other day, I uploaded a video on this channel where I called shops trying to sell. And granted, they were 1 kilo bars, which do sell a little bit weaker than rounds, and sometimes quite a bit weaker, depending on the shop, of course. But when I made those shop calls, I didn't have one shop offer me anywhere close to spot. And to be fair, I wasn't expecting to get that. I went into it knowing that I wasn't going to get that offer. And the reason is that you can buy kilos, you can buy, less than perfect rounds, kind of like these, Uncle Sam's right here, they're all milk spotted. You can buy stuff like this really cheap or really close to spot. I mean, there are literally, spot price deals, and even I've seen some less than spot price deals on less than perfect rounds, even from online bullion retailers. Local coin shops have had specials on rounds where they've been under spot price. So it is clear as day that demand is down. If we didn't have lower demand, we would not see those things that I just talked about. It would not be happening. And you can compare that back to 2023 when we were in the complete opposite situation. Silver was in the mid 20s, and we had, depending on the dealer, there were some shops selling silver eagles for $20 an ounce over spot price. Now, I don't want that to happen again. This video is not saying, oh my gosh, I hope it gets back there. But it is possible that we see that coming. And, I did an interview with Josh, which actually is not even on the channel yet. It's scheduled for next week while I'm on vacation. And you should definitely check it out. We literally talked about how premiums could return. And if you want to make sure, by the way, you don't miss out on that video, please don't forget to subscribe. It helps the channel grow as well. But here's what I think is going to happen. Or it could happen. I don't predict anything, but here's what I think could happen. And before I say this, I do want to make sure that I'm very clear that I do know that part of what's going on with silver, with people selling and also not buying, is because there are many people that are hurting financially because of the economy. So I'm not dismissing that. And I've said this in comments to people as well, and I think I probably talk about it in another video I've already recorded to be released during my vacation, that's not the only thing. And I don't even think it's the primary thing, but it is most definitely part of that. But here's what I think, could happen. If we see silver continue to go up, let's say it goes over 40, I think we're actually likely to see more people actually cash out. Now, at the beginning of this video, I talked about how Uncle Sam may want you in debt. He may want you dependent on the US dollar. Well, those people that are stacking silver just to get more dollars, those are the people that are probably going to cash out as well, because there's a lot of people that stack silver and they don't look at it like I do. And I've said this on the channel many times, so I apologize for repeating myself, but they don't look at it like I do as a way to have a savings that is outside of the US dollar, the ever deflating US dollar. They don't stack it for that reason. They stack it to make more money. Now, between me and you, if your intent, and I just want to be completely honest with you, if your intent for stacking silver is only to sell it later to make more money, you're probably just better off buying like a silver ETF, right? What is the point of stacking physical silver, dealing with premiums, so on and so forth, if your intent is to just sell it when it goes up and you can make a profit on it? Now, if you're stacking silver because you want to save physical currency, like real money, outside of the US fiat dollar, that is the reason to stack silver. Now, obviously, there are a lot of scenarios that could play out that probably aren't going to happen, but I don't want all of my money tied up into stocks or into bonds or into basically anything that's attached to the US dollar whatsoever. We talk on this channel all the time about how, silver is valued in US dollars, and we look at what silver is going for in US dollars. But the primary reason we do that is because that determines how much silver we're able to get with the US dollars that we have. Now, I've said many times that I have a very diverse stock portfolio, but that is a totally different reason than I stack my silver. I actually have that stock portfolio to make more fiat dollars because I recognize the importance of the fiat dollar in the current world. But I want silver for something completely different. So anyway, here's what I think is going to happen. Like I said, if silver continues to rise, let's say it goes over 40 or even $50 an ounce, more people are going to cash out. However, that is going to bring attention to silver, and there are going to be people that get FOMO, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to miss out. This might be silver's run to 100 or 200. All these people that have been arguing that silver is going to skyrocket, now they're being proven right. At least that's what's going to be in their mind. And so they're like, we don't want to miss out. Let's go buy a bunch of silver. I think these people still kind of fall in with what I had just talked about with people stacking for money. And those people may very well outweigh the number of sellers, because the truth is we will eventually run out of people that have silver to sell that want to sell it for fiat in the first place. Now, I've said many times that if silver gets to a certain value, assuming that the world and the dollar hasn't completely collapsed, I'd even sell a little bit of my silver, but I certainly wouldn't sell it all. But I think there will be a point where there will be nobody that wants to sell silver. Everyone that wanted to sell silver because they were stacking it for cash, they're going to get out. And so you're going to be left with a bunch of silver that's sitting in the market, but you're also going to be left with a bunch of people that are now interested in silver because it's in the news cycle. And so I think, and this may sound counterintuitive, but I think if we get over $50 an ounce, and then it kind of, stabilizes there. You don't see it dropping back to 40. You don't see any major crash dips, like you see in, crypto all the time. If you don't see that happening, there are going to be people who are like, you know what, this is my time. This is the right time to get into silver. And even though they could have bought it when it was cheaper, they're going to get into it then. And when those people flood into the market, you're going to start seeing, and keep in mind, when I say shortages, I don't mean there's a shortage of silver. I want to be very clear about that. However, there have been in the past, very recent past, shortages of available silver for purchase at retail. There is a big difference. I want to make sure that's very clear. I don't want people to think that I'm saying that there's a silver shortage, or there was, because even back then, there was no silver shortage. However, there was a shortage of silver available for purchase at the time, and that's what led to those premiums. There were more people buying than there was silver being produced for purchase. And there was more people buying than there were people selling. So at that point, that's when the premiums went up. And I think we could see that again. Now, here's the thing. I think there's something else to think about, is that if silver does the opposite, right? If silver does the opposite and say we get back into the low to mid 20s, I think you're going to see premiums return in that instance as well. And here's why. I think if we get into the low to mid 20s, if it goes the other way, you're going to have a couple of things happening. One, you're going to have dealers that had a bunch of silver that they were buying because everyone's selling right now in the mid 30s that does not want to sell for a huge loss. Even if they can replace it, they may just be like, you know what, I'm going to put the silver back, or I'm going to, raise the premiums, whatever it may be. But additionally, I think you're going to see people that don't want to sell their silver because it's gotten too low. And you're also going to see people that are like, you know what, this is my time to get in before it goes back up to 35 or 40. And if that happens, I think you're going to see nobody selling because they don't want to sell it this low when it's in the 20s, because it was just recently in the 30s. And then you're also going to have that combined with a bunch of people that see that as an opportunity to buy in. So in that case, I think we will also possibly run into a possible shortage on, again, not silver, there's no silver shortage, but a possible shortage of physical silver available for purchase. So that's what I think might actually happen. And what I'm trying to say here, and this isn't saying that you should go out and buy silver. I don't like to create FOMO, but this is my thoughts right here. I think that right now with silver in the 35 to 38, it's actually in a pretty good spot, because the premiums right now are so low. I think basically what I think is going to happen is it's going to be nearly impossible to ever find physical silver available under 30 again. I'm not saying that spot price can't drop below 30. It most definitely can. But what I'm saying is I really think it's going to be nearly impossible, at least any time in the near future, to find silver, physical silver, available under 30. Nobody's going to want to sell it. And when it gets under 30, everyone's going to want to be buying it. And premiums are just going to cover that difference and make it, $30 an ounce or up anyway. And I think what we're going to see, whether silver goes up or down, you're going to see a large disconnect between spot price and physical silver value. Right now, we're seeing silver value. I mean, again, I've talked about how you can buy silver from retailers. There's been deals with rounds, a little bit under spot. So right now, there's not a massive disconnect between spot price and the physical silver price. But I think if we see it go up over 50, or if we see it go back down into the low to mid 20s, you might see a massive disconnect between spot price and the physical price, what it's going to cost you to get an ounce of silver in your hand. So that's my thoughts for the day, guys. I would love to know what you think. So do me a favor and leave a comment down below. As always, I want to thank you so much for being here and for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and help us continue to grow. And we'll see you next time.